So I got a question for you guys. What is the best tool or vehicle to generate leads? How many people think it's proactive and aggressive outbound prospecting? Picking up the phone, knocking on doors. How many people? Show of hands. Okay, 2 of you. Everybody else is independently wealthy? Is that what we're doing? How many people think that it is marketing or media as the best tool? Oh, interesting. More hands go up. I think part of the reason is because the other one is uncomfortable and nobody likes to do it, but that's cool. In order to have a kingdom, do you need a king and a queen? Yes. Tai Lopez, he calls it the king and queen of business. How does he do that? It said if you're a shitty marketer, you have to become a rock star salesperson. Because I had spent 15 years of my life becoming a rock star salesperson. I role played twice a day, 6 days a week for 3 years. I prospected every single day for 15 years, 6 days a week for 3 hours. Now, it worked. I listed over 100 homes a year for 10 years in a row. We did 200 deals a year twice, 80% of that business being listings sold. And it comes with a few drawbacks. What are some drawbacks that particular strategy or approach comes with? This is the interactive portion of the presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Time. Huh? Time, so I have to be there to do it. What else? How many people, when you go on a vacation, all your business fucking stops? Anybody besides me? There's some drawbacks to it, but it does work. Because I was the +1 listing agent in the whole MLS system out of 20,000 agents in Miami. It works, okay? And I realized something, that you can make $1 million plus a year doing outbound aggressive prospecting. You can make $10 million a year if you add media to it, okay? But here's the problem. I didn't know shit about media. And the vast majority of you don't either. I know because I see what you post. Pictures of you eating somewhere, like anybody gives a shit. Pictures of you on a vacation. Look how cool I am. You know what the vast majority of you guys use media for? To gratify your ego. To get validation, to make yourself look cool. Which is dumb. Because you can't sell anything doing that, just so you know. So what I normally do, she's like, you talking to me? I did what I normally do when I don't know a skill, is that I got access to a guide. Anybody know who Ryan Pineda is? Millions and millions of followers online. He has 6 businesses that do $1 million a month in revenue. Ryan Pineda, $1 million a month in revenue. Do you think he understands media pretty well? His primary acquisition channel is media. So here we are, I do 2 referrals because somebody found me on media and they're like, I'm a fucking media expert. And we put them on a panel versus a guy who does 6 businesses that do $1 million a month. Okay. I paid him $25,000 to teach me media. Okay. My content creators were on calls with his content creators and we sucked everything out of their brains. We regularly receive 4,000 to 5,000 hours of watch time on YouTube now. Okay. Have multiple posts that have gone viral with over 1 million views. It's allowed us to grow all of our businesses now in a way that was not possible previously with time freedom and location freedom. And I believe that everybody in this room with the right understanding, the right strategy, because most of us don't have a strategy as it pertains to media, you just mail it in. How many people feel like you should be posting something? Yeah. How many of you guys have any strategy behind it? I've seen your stuff. Come on, bro. This guy? Yeah. You, because we work on it together and we had to change it. Because, you know, we've worked together for an extended period of time. So I believe that everybody in this room with the right strategy, the right approach, the right techniques, you could do everything and I've done in less time. Okay. I've spent the last 17 years of my career selling over 2,000 properties, starting a coaching company with over 100 coaching clients. 12 of them make over $1 million a year. Owning part of a Keller Williams office, selling it back, transitioning to EXP and attracting 348 agents in 25 months. You can clap that shit up. So what we're going to be going over today is the strategy that I use that allows us to produce all of these outcomes. Because the marriage is actually between the two. Eventually, you're going to have to speak to somebody, so I need to know what to say and how to say it. If I can combine outbound with inbound on a regular basis, everything that you do will explode. Who's up for this? Say aye. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong fucking room. Like, who is up for this? Say aye. Guys, this is $25,000 worth of game that you're getting for free. Every story that you've ever listened to, every movie you've ever watched, follows a particular best practice. Stories have the capacity to hold human attention for hours at a time. It's the only tool that we have that can do that, right? And we've been telling stories for 2,000 years plus. So we've come up with some best practices. And there's always a hero in the story. As soon as you start reading the book, you start watching the movie, you're introduced to the hero. And the hero has a problem. What are examples of problems that heroes have? Money. They want to get the bag. What else? Love. I want to get the ladies. What else? Or the guys, whatever you're into. What's the next one? Evil. Okay, they're trying to combat something that's bad. Thank you. Time, trying to reclaim their time. How many people have watched the movie of the guy who works too hard and his kids are kind of going around like doing their own thing and he doesn't spend any time with them and he feels like challenged about it? That's a problem. The hero, can the hero solve their own problems? No, if they could, there wouldn't be a movie, brother. And there wouldn't be a story. So who do they need to help them to solve their problems? A guide. And the guide ends up giving them a plan. This follows in everything. And story is a sense-making mechanism. It's how we make sense of things. In our media, who do we make the fucking hero? Us. Look at my brand new listing. Who's the fucking hero? You. You're the hero. Most people use their media as a mechanism for their own self-esteem to get strokes and accolades from people who don't give a shit and aren't buying anything from you. Okay, let's do an experiment. You ready? I want everybody to clap really loud. You ready? Okay, stop. Why do we do everything for that?
Accomplishments.
That's good. Interesting. Guys, do you realize how much of your life you do for that? What are you actually interested in when you post something? What do you look at? Did people like it? You know what that is? We all speak the language of story. Whoever communicates their message to the consumer more clearly wins. Period. With all your posts of you working out and what you're fucking eating and your vacations, what are you communicating to clients and business? I'm the main event. Thank you very much. And if someone has the best product, they will lose to an inferior product that can communicate more clearly. Okay? So think about for a second all of your media up until this point. What message is it sending out?
Look at me.
Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Okay? I'm not communicating very clearly to consumers. Right? The more simple and predictive the communication is, the easier it is for the brain to digest. So here's what happens. You ready? People touch their phones 150 times a day according to Google. They're looking at emails, text messages, their calendar, right? And within maybe an hour of that, they're looking at their profiles. What causes you to stop and look at something? Longer than a fucking catches your attention in some way, right? And what I'm aware of as well is, as it pertains to what we're talking about here, is if we make a message difficult for our brain to understand, do you know what happens immediately? We check out. Your brain hears, oh, this won't help me to survive or thrive, so I'm not going to pay attention. How many of you guys have been like out somewhere and you're like, what do you do for a living? And they're like, well, it's kind of complicated. You know what your fucking brain does immediately? No, I'm out. It's going to take too long, too many calories. I'm not interested. Story helps you make sense of everything. It's a sense-making mechanism. Even though you know the guy gets the girl at the end of the movie, you still watch just to find out. Even though the villain is terrible, you know that they're probably going to lose, you still watch it. Because it follows story branding format. And the stronger the villain, the more you actually like it. Interesting. Story formulas put everything in order in your brain so your brain doesn't have to work hard to understand. Our brain is constantly being bombarded with like so much information, and now more so than any time on human history. And if I'm making messages that are not clear, nobody pays attention. And if you have a very small amount of attention in your life right now, that's the reason why. You're making yourself the hero and your message is complicated. 2 mistakes that brands make. The first mistake is they fail to focus on the aspect of their offering that will help their people survive or thrive. Our brains are wired for survival and thriving. So give me an example in real estate of surviving. Not as an agent, but as let's say a consumer, a buyer or a seller. What would be examples of surviving?
Needing a place to live.
Okay, I just need a home to live. That's surviving. What else? Let's do surviving.
Pay less.
Pay less because it'll allow me to have more money so I can survive. What else? Protect my family. I give security for them. That's survival. What else?
Close to my work.
Close to my work. It helps me. That's really helps me to thrive in a way. but it's in that same vein. Perhaps I don't want to lose my property to foreclosure. That's surviving. Is this making sense? What would be examples of thriving?
Investment.
Okay, investment. Love that. What else?
Upgrades.
Upgrades, baby. What else? Freedom. Good. That I can get through investments. Think about this. How much of your media is that a message? So instead of, look at my brand new listing, instead make the client the hero. Here is a seller who wanted to get closer to their work. Now it's couched in surviving and thriving. Do you see? They didn't know how they were going to do it because they were listed with another agent and it didn't sell. We connected. Who did they meet? A guide.
What will you do if you have a new listing?
Yeah, again, explain either the problem that the seller has or tell people how they can buy it. So here's a new construction listing that we have here in Miami, and many people don't believe that you can actually get a 4% interest rate. Well, what I'm aware of is with these concessions, 1, 2, and 3, and with this builder, we just helped this client buy a home just like this, and they do have a 4% interest rate. So if you're interested in having a confidential conversation about buying a home, DM me the word buy. Much better. Now you're actually using media as a mechanism to position you as what? A guide. Because you know what other people see when you position yourself as a hero? Here's what goes on in their head. They're like, oh, Nikki's a hero just like me. I would love to actually listen to what the fuck she has to say, but I'm too busy trying to find a guide to help me to solve my problems. Your brain, listen to me, your brain's primary mechanism is to help you to survive and thrive. It is the way that it's wired. So if my content and media is not as a mechanism to help people to survive and thrive, it doesn't work. People ask me, bro, how have you attracted so many agents in such a short period of time? I position myself as a guide to help agents solve their. Do I ever talk about myself? Am I ever like, ooh, look at me and how cool my life is? No. All of the media is equipping people, what's up, brother, is equipping people with what they need to solve their own problems. I mean, to be able to solve their problems. I'm a guide to help them solve, so they reach out to me on a regular basis. 4, 5, 6, 10 times a month. Okay, second mistake that brands make. You cause their customers to expand too many calories to figure out or understand what they're saying. Right? Not only, like, think about this, guys. You posting a one-dimensional picture of a property you listed, does that add any value anywhere? Why? Because where can they get that? No shit. Or on Zillow, or on Redfin, or all these places.
But you think it's wrong to combine things? Like how you
See, here's the thing that I get all the time. So when I start to speak this way and I speak forcefully, you know what people tell me? They're like, but I'm a person too.
No, actually, because
And what I mean is here's what I mean about it. So the vast majority of people, they do that primarily because they have no instruction or strategy behind it. They know they should be posting something, but if they're not careful, it just becomes all about them. Here's me on a vacation. Here's me in the car. Here's a listing that I took. Here's fucking shit that I'm doing, which is really to gratify my ego. I'm not actually doing it as a mechanism. I had a conversation with somebody recently and I was like, hey, what's your intention behind posting that? And we don't want to be honest because you know what the honest answer is? I want somebody to go like this. That's why I'm doing it. Does that make sense? So sure, do people want to see like some of that? Like one in a week. I post 3 times a day, 3 to 4 times a day, 7 days a week on all platforms, 5 times a week on YouTube. You might see one of that out of all of that, out of 28 posts. You see what I mean? So there's a part of you that wants to maybe perhaps like if you're going to, so here's what's happening. So let's say you're perusing. You have these problems that you're looking for a guide to help you to solve. And there's an infinite sea of guides and people positioning themselves as guides. The challenge is most people are entirely full of shit.
That's true.
So you're trying to determine who could be a good guide for me, right? Think about to yourself, what causes you to invite somebody into your story, because you're the hero in your own story. I'm just the guy. You're Harry Potter, I'm Dumbledore. What would cause you to reach out to me? Is it pictures of my kids? No, what? If you were an agent, what would cause you to reach out to me?
you have something I need.
Ah, interesting. And how would you be able to determine that?
Your results.
Okay, but here's what I'm aware of. Results are a low level of influence. And that's what we all use. We try to lead with authority. Oh, don't you know who I am? I sold 1 property in this neighborhood. I have 2 pendings right now. We try to lead with authority. It's a low level of influence. So it's a place to start. But what would actually cause you to invite me into your story? That might be part of the consideration, but what's the main, okay. So in order for a hero to determine if somebody's a good guide or not, the guide has to demonstrate two things. Do you know what the first one is? Empathy. I know what it feels like to be on a pursuit in my physical journey and to hit roadblocks. I know what it's like to try to manage work-life balance and still maintain physical fitness. I only made $13,000 my first year of selling real estate. It's empathy. It's the complete opposite of what we think it is. We think it's this. Look, don't you know who I am? It's not that. It's empathy. Then, you know what the second thing I have to deploy is? Competency. Now, do I determine that you're competent? How do I determine that somebody's competent? Because they brag about themselves?
The results.
Okay, results. That's part of the measurement. How many people have ever been in the presence of somebody who asked a series of detailed questions that you didn't even consider or think about and realize that you were in the presence of a professional? Anybody? Yes. Right? Or if you're watching me all the time in media and you can tell that what's coming out of my mouth is what? Truth. That's how you determine if you want to invite me into your story, because you're the hero of your own story. I'm just the guide. Does this make sense? So, and we can't make that message overcomplicated. So we don't do a lot of things here. How many people have got a text from me that says, let's go, let's grow? It's very clear. You know what else we're starting to add to it? Let's do more deals. Do you have to think about that? Does it require a lot of fucking calories to figure out what we do here? No, it's very simple and easy, right? But there's a method to it. There's a reason why we're doing it, okay? So people are looking for brands that can help them to survive and thrive, period. That's it. Whether it's thriving in investments and lifestyle and upgrades or surviving, because I can have more resources with a lower payment to help me to, survive. That's all they're looking for. They're not looking for brands that brag about themselves. It's not what they're looking for. Okay? Communication must be simple. So the story brand formula, this is how it works. It's what we said, right? There is a hero. And this is what must be communicated when you think about this. Okay, so let's say you're watching a movie. How many people besides me have ever watched a movie and within 20 minutes, you're like, I don't really know what's going on, and you stop watching it? Do you know why? They didn't follow this fucking formula. They take too long to describe what the problem is. You're not clear on who's the main character, right? And then immediately you're like, oh, I'm out, see ya. Remember, story is a sense-making mechanism. So in order for the audience to be entertained and to watch, this is what needs to be clearly communicated. Who is the hero? Again, we make ourselves the hero. And that's problematic because Natalie's the hero in her own story. Kevin is the hero in his own story. I'm just a guide to help him to solve his problems. Your buyers and sellers are the heroes of their own story. Our industry is one where we can have massive egos for no reason. Imagine if other people walked around and behaved the way we did. Imagine the CEO of a fucking Fortune 500 company going like this in his car. It's immature, bro. It's ridiculous. Okay? Who the hero is and what the hero wants. What do they actually want? What do your buyers and sellers actually want? What do people who get mortgages actually want? Within the context of surviving and thriving, because our brains are wired that way, right? And the hero has to defeat something or overcome something in order to get what they want, right? So Harry has to defeat who? Voldemort, right? Luke has to defeat who? Darth Vader. So what would be an example of something that a buyer or seller would have to defeat in order to get what they want? Huh? The market. What else? Foreclosure. What else? Knowledge, knowing how to fucking do something. Ignorance. What else? What would be something that a buyer or seller would have to defeat in order to get what they want? Getting beat by all the offers that they're submitting? No? How much of your content is geared towards that? Zero. It's just me. We're doing it wrong. He's talking to me, bro. I'm like, yes, I am. So what wonderful thing will happen if they if they win? right? So imagine in that story brand format, instead of just like, here's my listing and I'm so cool, here's a seller who has this problem. Here's the 3-step or 4-step plan that we use to help them to solve their problem. And here's a picture of them getting what they want. Do you see how that's in story brand format and it makes sense in your brain? Just like all the stories that you read and all the books that you listen to or read? Okay. People don't buy the best products. They buy the products they can understand the fastest. We don't buy the best. We buy the ones we can understand the fastest. My question now, I make a lot of decisions. We have a lot of stuff going on. When somebody presents me with something, I'm like really clear. What does it do? Every story you see is this in a nutshell. Again, a main character who wants something. They encounter a problem before they can get it. At the peak of despair in the movie is the main character right before they're about to give up. Who shows up? The guide. Okay. Rocky, who was his guide? His trainer. Okay. The guide gives them a plan and the guide calls them to action. Because you know what's true about heroes? Heroes don't take action unless they're called on. Let me ask you a question. Is Harry Potter resisting the whole time that he's the best wizard on the planet? Yes. Right? Luke Skywalker, is he fighting the whole time that he's like the one to save the universe? Yes. Is Neo in the Matrix fighting the whole time that he's the one? Mm-hmm. He has to be called on. And the guy gives them a plan, calls them to action. The action helps them to avoid failure and achieve success. Okay? This is the story brand. Take a picture of this. And we're going to hand this out to you guys so you guys all have it. Every story that you've ever read, every book that you've ever watched, book that you've ever watched or listened to or read or whatever, however you did it now with all these different platforms. And this should be the context that informs all of your media because it is no longer social anymore. So what do you think I mean when I say it's no longer social media? Marketing. Okay,
It's
but
not just for social interactions.
so when it first came out, how many people, I mean, I was in college when Facebook first came out. I'm dating myself. I'm 43, right? Okay. So at that point, media was social. It was about what are my friends doing and what are they watching? And that's what the platforms would put in front of me. Here's who I'm with, here's me eating, right? Well, TikTok came around. How did that algorithm change things? What does TikTok put in front of you? Education. Sorry? Education. Nope, things that you're interested in. It's on the interest graph. The algorithm figures out what you're interested in based on what you watch. And then only puts stuff in front of you. It can give two shits what Kevin's watching. The reason why that's much more powerful is because Kevin's interest over time change. And the algorithm changes with me, which means they can keep me on it for longer periods of time, over time. So the vast majority of us are using media on the social graph when it's not on the social graph anymore. It's on the interest graph. Your clients are interested in something, but you're not putting yourself on the interest graph. You keep posting social shit. Is this clear? Okay, but all of your media should be informed by this. So who wants to give me an example? Let's use a buyer example. You worked with a buyer. You're at the closing, and instead of the stupid fucking picture of you with the key, put it in story brand format for me.
I was able to have the seller contribute $10,000 towards buyer's concession.
Good. Now that is only part of it. So who's the hero?
You, the realtor.
The buyer.
That's you being the hero, because this is what I did. So who is the hero? The hero is the buyer.
They were renting.
So talk to me in story brand format with the buyer being the hero. What was their problem?
They wanted to
Oh, light bulbs are going off.
Yeah, you were able to convert them from renters to buyers.
Oh, so now let's put this in the context of story branding and storytelling. Here's Susie, who thought she was going to have to rent forever. She didn't think she had enough money to bring to the table for closing. Here's the 3-step plan that we used to help her. We found the property, we worked with this lender, and we negotiated a concession. Here's her in her property. So if you are interested in buying, DM me the word buy. Do you see?
You never said I.
And yeah, I didn't say I. See, what's really interesting is if we're really honest, and this is perfect, I love that, because the story of one is the story of all. Everybody would have done the same thing. The reference is I. I negotiated, I did, I, because I'm so cool, look at me. Do you see? But by putting it in story branding, now you're communicating a message very clearly to the hero who are other buyers that have a problem just like this person. And now they will perceive me as a guide to help them to solve their problems. Does this make sense? What are we doing? Where are we going? Nice to see you. And why are we going there? Now, these are questions that me and my wife Carla have been asking each other for the last 20 years.